So I saw this Schreier tweet the other day. I don't know, somehow it got retweeted on my timeline. And yeah, I'm actually surprised too that it's like 20 white guys in this picture for this new game studio. It looks like it's according to the article, it's like 75% of people who've already worked together in a previous studio, and what 25% new guys. I'm surprised that in this day and age they thought it would be fine, or they didn't have an issue with putting a picture out and not hiring any women or any black people or any other people of color. And I would be surprised further if it stays that way, especially with Schreier sort of highlighting it. What's going to happen now? Every article about the studio, about any kind of project they have coming out, will make a point of mentioning it or asking, how come you don't have minority characters, or not characters, I'm sorry, minority staff or women or whatever. It's going to be a thing that they're going to finally cave. But the irony of it is that social media, online activism has created an atmosphere where it absolutely makes sense for a game studio to be like, no, let me just hire my friends. Let me hire people like me so I don't have to deal with the bullshit and hassle. Because what happens is, say you want to make a game, and I don't know what these kind of games these people are going to make. I saw something called Savage Planet, what I'm not familiar with, but say you're a studio and you're just sort of a regular, normal guy who likes action and adventure and sexy women, and you want to make a booby positive game, about some, hot chick doing action in a tight leather outfit. If you have women and you're on your staff, whether they're women of color or not, the first thing they're going to do is tell you that the character shouldn't be sexualized. They're going to be offended by the size of the boobs, by the outfit that enhances or shows off the character's curves, the fact that the character even has curves, the violence, everything. Like, you're going to start having problems with these women, especially millennial women, who it won't be enough for them to say, hey, I object to the fact that this woman is so sexualized. And it's like, look, the woman's not sexualized. She's just sexy. It's not a big deal. Men like sexy women. Women do too. We want our character to look sexy. We're old school. If you say that, then it's going to become an issue. Then the company will be torn down because of a hostile work environment. That women were forced to work on a project that had sexy, shapely women in it. And when they tried to protest the insensitive, brutal, cisgendered white men, didn't take their concerns seriously and didn't hear their truth. And so, they were forced to work on a project. And if they decide they want to leave, they're then going to say they were forced out because, again, like I said, it's a hostile work environment because you didn't listen to me. It's like I said in previous videos that it makes sense in a weird way. Ironically, it makes sense not to have marginalized characters in superhero comics. Because the moment you have a gay character in a superhero book, nothing bad can happen to that character now. They can't be killed by some weird serial killer and brought back to life to beat up their killer. Because you've now made a story about abuse of gay people or abuse of gay black people. So it's like, yeah, I want to be a part of this, or I want you to shove my demands into your story or your superheroes. I want you to make a black gay character. But if you, like I said, if you do something bad, if something bad happens to that character, if they lose, if they get beat up, if they get killed, and still, but even though they come back to life, you're now highlighting the trauma of the black gay experience. You're a racist and a homophobe. So you have these people on social media co-opting fandom, like inserting things that they want to see in the fandom, even though they're not a part of it. Like I said, a lot of these people who are pushing for all the characters to be changed gay, for the women to wear potato sacks and not have any shape. The ones complaining about male gays in comics or whatever. All these people, or most of them, don't actually read the comics. And if they do, they don't buy it. They just download it and maybe read a page or two. So, yeah, all I see now in media is stories, articles, tweets defending a fandom being torn down. The whole Masters of the Universe thing. There are people who are like, how can you be upset by Tila taking over? How can you be upset at Eva Lynn's truth? It's so you have, again, a show that was centered around a strong, buff man and an attractive woman who helped him. But you can't make a story now, or they won't allow you to make a story, or they force these stories on you now where the first thing they do is they tear the male hero down, and they do it in a spiteful way. So it's not enough to kill He-Man in the first episode of his fucking show and series, or what was his series. It's not enough just to kill him. You have to debase him. You have to make it about him dying isn't important, except it revealed the fact that he lied to Tila, as if Tila was so important to the story. She wasn't worthy of knowing this secret. But for Tila to make his death about her and to be like, you're all a pack of liars, Adam lied to me, and not knowing he was fucking He-Man, that Adam was fucking He-Man, it's so important to her that she turns her back on everything. And yet the show follows her and makes a point of having all these characters want her to help. And she's like, no, I didn't want to. I hate magic. Adam lied to me. I didn't want to be a part of this. And it's like, well, there's a ton of Masters of the Universe characters out there that they could go to get help. There's nothing special about Tila except that she's a woman, allegedly. So you have this, agenda where the only female, prominent or semi-prominent character is suddenly there's a weird, you didn't allow this character to shine. She's not the star of the show. There's tons of characters that were not the star of the show who weren't given any prominence in the story. It's not like they went and they took, what's his name? What is his name? I can't remember the brother's name. Well, whatever. So, they didn't make the story about him. They made it about Tila, and then had the nerve to make it the second half about Eva Lynn. So I'm not really getting off track. The thing is, you can't make, these dudes who've got the studio where right now it's all white, 20-something white dudes. I have no problem with that. If they all know that they can work well together, and then they know that there's no hassle, There's not going to be any hassle about the type of games and the type of direction they want to take. I know they were saying something now they wanted to do action and adventure. Now who knows? They're probably not even going to make games with like as booby positive characters or whatever. Maybe they just think they can relax and be themselves without every little thing, every little dumb joke they say, because that's one of the things. Anybody who works regular job, one of the first things they tell you is about like harassment and stuff in the workplace is you and another coworker could be joking amongst yourselves, and you can make sexy or off-color jokes to each other, and y'all getting along like that. But if there's a woman, maybe even a man, in earshot of the two of you joking, they can get offended and make a big stink about it. So, I know it's one of those things where if somebody says, well, maybe these guys just want to be able to relax and make jokes and, just be themselves without some woman or a PLC complaining about them being politically incorrect or something. I know the defense or the argument for the SJW will be, well, don't be an asshole. But the problem is, everybody is so overly sensitive that, like I said, all you have to do is have a drawing, a J. Scott Campbell drawing of MJ, sitting on a couch with a little cleavage showing, and these fucking people lose their mind. Like, there are people literally, all caps in tweets, stop sexualizing the female characters. Like they're losing their fucking mind, because a lot of these people have mental problems. They have emotional and mental problems. They brag about it. They brag about going to therapy. They brag about how, they, if they didn't take their meds, how they act, like what happens to them. But they are setting the standard for companies and how they are producing media for fans. So it's not enough anymore for a company to take a property like He-Man and say, well, we're just going to use the name and get more people that way. It now becomes a thing whereas we're going to use the name, but what we're going to do is we're going to turn the tables on all those shitty fans when they were kids, these sexist, racist fans when they were kids and loving He-Man. We're going to show them, because you didn't like Teela enough and you didn't respect Teela as a woman. So we're going to now, we're going to get rid of the powerful male character and have the female character. It's like they literally say stuff. I was watching a Noah Gervais video about Resident Evil. It's like 7-something hours. I watched it, of course, for a couple of days. And he was complaining about a scene in Resident Evil 6 where there's a boss fight with a woman who does like a little sexy shimmy, like a little shimmy move or something before her tentacles crawl out. And he was saying that this was only done for the benefit of the player, like nobody else, as if the other characters are real people, like not Leon. I'm sorry, I think it was it was Leon. Leon, and I think her name is Helena. I never played Resident Evil 6, but he was basically talking as if these are real people, and he was complaining about the fact that this is just done to titillate the player, as if this is like the worst thing in the world. This over sensitivity. Yeah, it's just a dumb, schlocky game with this silly little sexy design character. Who cares? It's especially it's Japanese for one. They have tentacle porn. So what, like why is this, but whatever. But that's the thing. You have people who are overly sensitive to any depiction of sex or sexiness. It doesn't have to be sex. It's a bad thing in 2021 to find a woman attractive and to emphasize her attractiveness, especially if it's meant to appeal to just straight men. Like if it's comic books mainly straight men, video games, they always talk about how half the PS5 owners are women, but then they act like women don't like attractive women, and that they're playing it because they want to see frumpy. It's like if it was like, You're demanding all these changes in games. If sexiness and everything was a problem, why are half the damn PS5 owners women then? If they had a problem with this shit, why were they buying up PS5 so much? You know, they didn't have it like with Horizon Zero Dawn. Horizon Zero Dawn, popular game. They knew a sequel was coming out. They didn't have a problem with how she looked. I mean, a lot of people bought this. A lot of women bought the damn PS5. What, like, they just bought it just to buy it? What games are they playing then? They're not playing Horizon Zero Dawn. They're not playing Dark Souls or whatever. Now, not the Dark Souls has sexy characters in it, but in other words, they're playing games that are geared mainly to men. They've got into the hobby of playing games. And it seems like the only people who are really complaining are people online who don't play games and people who write for Kotaku and Polygon or whatever. People like Jason Schreier. People who find the worst in anything. And to come back to it, these guys with this studio, I mean, I think at some point they are going to add more people to it. And I hate to say it, I think once they start adding women and, well, particularly women, I don't think just adding people of color, I don't think it's going to be an issue, but adding women of any color, I think it's going to fuck them. It's going to fuck them. I was thinking about the woman, there's a writer for Superman and Lois Lane show. So you have, when before this first season came out, you had this woman that came out who was complaining about the fact that, you know, she tried to get them to make, I think she tried to get them to make the Kents black, but she's basically trying to make all these activist changes, and she was fighting hard, and they finally just let her go, or they didn't renew her contract or whatever, and she was complaining on Twitter about it. And I wanted so much to reply to her at the time when I saw her tweet come across my timeline. And people were trying to be like, oh, we're so sorry this happened to you. I was like, you're just someone who is hired to write on the show. You're just a writer. Like, your job is to just fucking write scripts for the show. Not to be an activist. This is not Twitter. Don't ruin your career because you're trying to appeal to people on Twitter. I tried so hard to change the environment. It's like, you need to be writing scripts. Shut up and write scripts. Stop trying to make, like, you need to know your role. Like, I've worked on film sets before, and you can't just come running in there telling people what to do. They'll get mad if your tone of voice changes, or you get kind of desperate and say, "We didn't get a chance to open the trailer, and now we got to do this." You're sounding very pushy right now. So you can't even sound desperate about certain situations without offending somebody. And you got some idiot who's just supposed to write scripts for the show, telling you that you need to cast black people as Superman's father and mother or whatever. Get the fuck out of here. Just do your job. And then when you push back and you tell them, no, we're not going to do this, it now becomes there's a bunch of racist Superman and Lois Lane because they didn't want to make Clark Kent's mom and dad black. And it's like, and it make like they say it as if there's nothing like there's like you're just supposed to just go, wow, really? They didn't want to make Clark Kent's mom and dad black? How could they do that? That's so weird.